We begin today the Gemara on Daf Chof Amud Beis, the very last line on the bottom of the page, where it says Hahi Oidisa. So the Gemara here brings an incident in connection to the halacha that we spoke about before, when a person is maideh that he owes money, and it depends. The Gemara said it depends if he's being maideh in front of two people, or he's being maideh in front of three people with a proper bezdin that, according to one opinion, that summoned him, and they write this down. Then the bezdin then writes this down. What's the difference? If you're just being maideh in front of two people, not necessarily could these two people take what you were maideh to and write it down on a shtar to document it. Taking a loan that is not in a shtar and then turning it into a loan in a shtar has a very different status, different halachas apply. They can't just go and write it down without permission from the borrower that admitted this. In the case of a bezdin, though, even without permission, because it's a bezdin, hefke, and you were summoned by them, over here the bezdin goes and writes it down. So now the following story happened. There was this shtar that wrote that so-and-so admitted that he owes money. It was written inside the shtar, Duchrin Pisgamin. This is we're recording the words that was said to us, that was admitted to us. Now, Rashi says, what's the significance of these words, Duchrin Pisgami? Usually, when Eidim write something down, they don't write, we remember the words. They write, we are recording testimony. It should have said, Duchrin Eidusin, or whatever, Eidus. But it didn't say a term of Eidus here. It just said, we are recording the words that were said in front of us. And then furthermore, V'chol Lishni de Beidina. The entire document was all written with the language that's usually used of a bezdin that's recording something that was brought in front of them. Not the language that's usually when Eidim write, that we are witnesses, that witnessed this. It all used the term of bezdin. But it was not written in the Shtar. Now, the point is that this document only had two signatures on it. Only Eidim. We didn't see three signatures, only two. And that is, it didn't say in the shtar that so, in such a case, if you see that it seems like the shtar was written by a bezdin, but on the other hand, only two signed it, so you would assume what may have happened here, that we're a bezdin of three, but then one passed away or one left, and therefore only two signed. But it wasn't written in the shtar. It didn't say that there were three and one now left. So how do we look at this kind of a shtar? Do we say that this was a shtar that was written by Eidim, and these Eidim may have made a mistake here? They may have thought that they're a bezdin, and that's why they're using the language of bezdin. And if they thought that they're a bezdin, then, as I mentioned before, a bezdin can write a shtar like this when a loive is admitting, even without permission of the loive. So it could be that they made a mistake thinking that they're a bezdin, and they wrote down the shtar without permission of the loive. That's what might have happened. Or maybe not. Maybe we don't have to be chayshish for that. Maybe this is a shtar of a bezdin, or it's a shtar of Eidim. Maybe it is a shtar of Eidim, and these Eidim asked permission from the loive. They got permission to write it down. So the Gemara says, Savar Ravina L'meimar, Ravina thought to say, Hainu de Rish Lakish. We apply over here the statement of Rish Lakish, which the Gemara quoted on the end of Chof Amud Beis. What does Rish Lakish say? When Eidim sign a shtar, Eidim know what the halachas are, that they have to sign it properly. Eidim are not going to sign if they themselves apostle, if they themselves are kroivim, or so on. They're only signing knowing that they're signing bekashras. So Ravina thought that we can apply Rish Lakish's concept here as well. Eidim, he said it before regarding Eidim, that Eidim, they're not going to sign it unless they get permission from the borrower to sign this document. So it is Eidim, and they probably got permission to sign it properly. Amalei Rav Nosson Barami, but Rav Nosson Barami said to Ravina, no, we don't apply that here. This is what was said in the name of Rava. When you have such a kind of document that has all the language of a bezdin, and it's only signed by two, what we're afraid is lebezdin tayin. We're afraid that these two made a mistake, that even though they're two, they can be a bezdin. And therefore they signed it without permission of the loive. So it's not that this document wasn't allowed to be written. That's what we're afraid of. Rav Nachman said on this, however, we're not always afraid of that. Ikasuv ba beidina, if not only it uses all the language that a bezdin usually uses, but it actually says clearly in it that we are a bezdin, sulei tzarich. So then we're not concerned about anything. Why? Because even if two people make a mistake and think that they could judge someone in dinei mamanis, but they don't really think that they're a proper bezdin. So if they're using the language of beidina, so then we don't have to be concerned, because everybody knows that two people are not called a bezdin, and we know that it was probably three people and now only two of them signed it. No, but the Gemara asks him this. Maybe something else happened. Maybe they're using the term Beidine and they think that there are a Bezdin and they're this audacious Bezdin. Where do we find this? We had before in the Masechta Dama Shmuel. Shmuel said, Shnaim Shadanu Dineim Din. That two that judge someone in money matters, so even though they're not supposed to, but the din that they judged is in effect. It's a din. Now we don't paskin like Shmuel. So maybe these people, they thought to say like Shmuel that they could be a Bezdin, and therefore they can write this document that this person was made even without his permission, and by emes they're not a Bezdin, because we don't paskin like Shmuel. So why aren't we concerned that the term that they wrote Bezdin doesn't mean anything? They made a mistake. So the Gemara answers, the Kosav Bay, it's written in Ella, the Kosav Bay, they wrote inside the star clearly, Beidine de Ravana Ashi, that we are a Bezdin like by Ravashi. Ravashi in that time, Rashi says the Gemara brings up Ravashi because in that time, when the Gemara was recorded, Ravina and Ravashi, they recorded the Gemara, Ravashi was the greatest Bezdin in his times. So they're writing that we are a Bezdin like by the Bezdin of Ravashi. So if they're writing this like the Bezdin of Ravashi, that Ravashi did not tell them to be a Bezdin less two people, less than three. It's a Bezdin Chotzov. Fragt the Gemara, but v'dilme Rabbanan de Bei Ravashi kishmul svirale. Maybe the Rabbanan, the Talmidim or the Chachamim by Ravashi, they held like Shmuel that b'diavad even two could be a Bezdin. So even though Chatchil you're not supposed to be a Bezdin, but maybe even Ravashi also paskin, he held, or the Chachamim by Ravashi held like Shmuel that two could be a Bezdin, and therefore they were by Ravashi, but they thought that they can be two a Bezdin. So we can still be concerned that they weren't a proper Bezdin. So the Gemara answers, the Chsiv Buhu, no, what was written here in this document is, V'omar lon Ravana Ashi. Rav Ashi himself, he told us that we should write this star. So if Rav Ashi himself told us to write it, so then Rav Ashi knows that since he was there, he definitely would not tell us to write it unless we're three. You have to be three. So therefore, it must be that there were three people there, and therefore the star was written properly. You don't need, when you have three, a Bezdin could always write the star when the loiver, the borrower, admits. Tan Rabbanan, we learned in the Braise. Amal lahen echot. A person, so before we were speaking about a person that's maida, so here it brings a Braise, a similar kind of concept. A person comes and says, Anira isi avichem shehitmin mois b'shida tevo migdal. Again, a person comes and says that I saw your father, that he put away money in a carriage, in a box, in a closet. And for Amar, and he said, Shalplainihen, this money that I'm putting away here belongs to so-and-so. Shal Maisasheni, or this money that I put away here belongs to Maisasheni. That's what has to be brought from the produce to Yerushalayim. So now, if this person says that he saw your father putting this away in a closet somewhere in his house, then what you said is nothing. We don't trust you about this. You're just one person, you're an Eidachad, and regarding a money matter, you're not believed to say that I heard from your father that he said that this and this money that he put away belongs to so and so. 1-8. Why you shouldn't be believed by money matter. However, besode, if you say that he put away this money here in this location in a field for that person, and he said it belongs to that person, or Maisasheni, then Dvarav Kayamin, then what you say about this, we believe you. Why is this person believed? So Rashi says, because in this case, Malu l'shaker, there's a migul. Why would this person lie about this? It's there out in the field where you could go and access the money yourself and take it and give it to that person. You didn't have to tell us anything about this. You could have just taken the money and given it. So in such a case, it's in your hands to do this. So therefore, you're believed. Klali shel davar, so the rule here is, kol should be yodei litlan, if you yourself are able to go and take that money from that location where the money was put away, darav kayama, then even though you're one person, we believe you because of this migu. And it's actually more than a regular migu. It's biyodei, it's actually in your hands. Usually with a migu, you're not believed to go and take out money that belongs to someone. But here in this case, it's mamish in your hands to just go and take it. However, if you say that the money was put away in his house and you can't go and take it, then layam maklum. Saying this about this money, your words have no effect at all. Now, another similar case, the Braisa says, the children saw their father. He put away money, migdal, in a carriage, box, or a closet. And he said, that this money belongs to so-and-so, or the money belongs to Maisasheni. Devarav Kayaman. If you see that he's giving over his words before he's passing away, and he's serious about this, then his words, we accept it that it's true, and you have to fulfill what this person said. And this is in a case where we're not concerned that the person said this because he doesn't want to look rich and so on. So then you have to fulfill what he said. Im Kemaidim, if we see that he's only saying this because he's trying to avoid his money being used, he doesn't want his children to take his money, so he's putting it away. So then then what he said is worthless. It's not serious. Another case, what happens if a person has tsar? Why? Because his father put away money for him and he can't find it. His father passed away and there was money that was put away from him and he can't locate where this money is. Now, in a dream, the tsar that shows a person the dreams by night comes and shows a person kach v'kachein, this is the amount of money that it is, b'makom pleinihein, and he gives him the location where it is. And you wake up from your dream, and it's actually there. You find that money. And furthermore, in the dream, he's told that shal ma'aser sheni hein, that money there that you found, this is ma'aser sheni money. So what's the halacha? If you then find that money in that location, do you take that money and then give it for ma'aser sheni? This was the story that happened, and others say that a bal of chachamim. So they asked this question by the chachamim, and they said, these words in a dream, they're not beneficial in any way. You can't rely on what it says in a dream. So the chiddush over here is, even though we see that what you dreamed is accurate, that you found it in that location, but nevertheless we can say, but maybe that part of the dream is true. But maybe the other part of the dream that says that it's ma'aser sheni money, that part of the dream is not true. So you can take the money and use it for yourself.
It's not even a suffix.
It's
not even a suffix.
No. That's what it says there. Yeah, but again, to money matters. I think Mefarshim actually say this concept of we find in other places in Shas that the words of Chalemis do have a big effect in different ways. Benegay to Yisurim, benegay to Nedarim, and also benegay to other things. But here, the main thing the Gemara is using this klal, Divrei Chalemis le'maylam v'le'im meridin, is benegay to money matters. Even though l'chayre we're dealing with ma'aser sheni, it could also be a suffix iser. But the ikr of the ma'aser sheni is, the question is, does it belong to Mammon Gavoya as ma'aser sheni, or does it belong to you? You can't use the words of a dream to create a status of ownership regarding money. So if you find this money, there's no proof that it belongs to ma'aser sheni, just based on a dream. Going back to what it says in the Mishnah, you have a dintayre, then how does Bezdin write the psak? So if you have the majority that says that he's zakai, and then one says that he's chayiv, so then he's zakai, because you followed the majority opinion. Okay, so now the question is, michtav hechi kasvi, when Bezdin actually records and writes down the ruling, what is the language of Bezdin writes? It wasn't, not everybody agreed to this psak din. It's a majority opinion, but how do they write this down? So there's three opinions here. Rabbi Yechanan says zakai. Bezdin writes down zakai, not elaborating that there's one that said not zakai and two that did say. He says zakai, which sounds like everybody is saying zakai. Shlakish says you write down all the details. Pliny, Pliny, Mizakin. These two judges, they said that he's zakai, that he's exempt. Pliny mechayev, and then the other person, he said that he's chayev. A third opinion, Rabbi Lazar said, Midivreyan, from between their opinions, from their words, Nizdaka Pliny, so and so became zakai, which is similar to the first opinion. But he's saying you can't just write zakai, because the fact is there's someone that said chayav. So you say midivreim, from amongst their words, he became zakai. But you don't elaborate that there's another person that said chayav. Says the Gemara Mai Binayu. What is the difference between them? Whether you write that there's another opinion different than the psak din or not. Says the Gemara Eke Binayu. The difference between them is l'shlumi, to pay. Meaning, in a case, what happens if it turns out that the psak din was wrong? And in certain cases where the psak din that was wrong, the judges have to take responsibility to reimburse the person that had to pay the money. So now, who has to reimburse here? The shlumi iu manasa bahadayu. The question is, that person, the judge that is, that did not paskin that he was chayiv. He paskin zakai. He actually got the right psak. Does he also have to reimburse together with the other judges in the majority opinion that was paskin wrong according to them? The Lamanda Oma Zakai, the one that says you just write the shtar Zakai, which sounds like you're saying everybody is saying Zakai. So Mishalim, he's actually going to have to pay and reimburse for the wrong psak din together with everyone, even though he had a different opinion. What's the reason for this? So that Rashi says the Svara the Gemara understands right now is because without the third person, Bezdin could not give out the psak the wrong psak that they gave out. You need three judges for this psak din. So even though he had a different opinion, but you needed him as well. So he contributed to the wrong psak din. So to reimburse, he has to be included as well. So that's why you just write zakai. You don't elaborate who said what because they're all responsible for this psak din. But the other opinion that says that you write, no, these were mezakeh and these were mechayiv, so then loy mishal. The reason you're writing this is so it should be clear who's responsible if this psak din is wrong, who's responsible to reimburse and who's not. But now the Gemara asks on this pshat, how could you say this? Well, the opinion that says zakai, and similar also the last opinion, Rabbi Elazar, that said medivrei nizdaka ploni, according to that opinion, mishalim, this person that didn't agree to the psak din, he's going to have to write. Sorry, not right. He's going to have to reimburse if it's a wrong psak din. He should say to the other judges, if you would have listened to me, Aton, if you would have listened to me, then Aton nami lo shal misan. You wouldn't have to pay either. I was arguing with you. You should have listened to me. So just the fact that he enabled the psak din because he was one of the three judges, that's not enough of a reason to make him pay as well with them. The fact is that he was arguing with them. He said, don't paskin this way. So Ella, the Gemara tries to say an opposite psak, naftim in here. The difference between them is lishlumi inu manasa didei. The question is, in the case where they have to reimburse, so let's say the money that we're talking about is $300. $300 that was paid and because of the psak din, and it turns out to be wrong. And there's three judges over here. Two of them said that the money was chayiv to pay, and one of them said no, it's not chayiv to pay. So now you have to reimburse this person for the $300. So if it was all three judges that made the mistake, so each one pays a third, each one pays $100. But what happens over here? It's only two judges that made the mistake, and the third judge did not make the mistake. Do the other two judges now have to pay and reimburse also that third $100 that the third judge is not going to pay? Are they going to have to pay in his place? Salamanda Zakai, the one that says that we just write Zakai and we don't elaborate that there's someone else here that disagreed, Mishalmi, they are going to have to pay in his place as well. They have to, since the whole psak din was based on them, the other person did not agree to them. They have to take the full responsibility and also pay the portion that the other one would have to pay because he in this case he doesn't have to pay. He didn't participate with them in the psak din. But Lamandama pleni mezaken pleni mechayiv, in the opinion that says that we spell out who's the mechayiv and who's the mezakeh, so then loy mishalmi. The reason we're writing this is so it should be clear that in such a case they pay their portion, and the other person has to pay his portion, even though he was not part of the psak din. Again, on it, the other person does not pay his portion, but loy mishalmi they don't pay his portion, his percent, because. They have to pay their percent of the psak din that they made a mistake. But the fact that there's a third person there, they don't have to pay that percent at all. Now the Gemara asks on this pshat as well. Ulamanda Omar Zakai. According to this pshat, he's saying that according to the opinion that says Zakai, that you just write Zakai Mishalmi, they're going to have to pay for the percent of the third judge here in this when they have to reimburse. Why? V'leim rulei. In this case, they only have to pay their percent of the mistake that was made here. They should say to him, Ilav at bahadon. If you are not here as the third judge together with us, le'av salik din midi. Then there wouldn't have been a psak din over here. So here the Gemara says the opposite question. The fact is that the third person was needed for this psak din. You can't say that these two judges, that the responsibility of the mistake lies completely on them, that when it comes to reimburse, they should have to reimburse totally, including the percent of the third judge. The fact is the third judge contributed to the mistake that happened over here. So true, he doesn't have to reimburse, but why should they have to reimburse his percent? So Ella, the Gemara says, really, when it comes to reimbursing, it doesn't work this way. The conclusion is based on what we said before, is that the two judges reimburse their part, and the third part, the person that the mistake was made, the Baldin, he's going to lose out. That third part, he's not going to get reimbursed. So rather, what is the difference in how you write the psak din? There's no, as far as reimbursing, there's no difference. The argument here, how you write, how you record the psak din, is based on the pasuk Mishum leselech rachel ba'amecha. That says in the pasuk that you should not bear gossip, you should not go around saying things that are private. So Rabbi Yechanan says you write zakai and you don't write who said zakai, who said chai. You just write zakai. That's the psak din and finished. You don't want to reveal who disagreed and who's the one that said zakai. However, Rish Lakish says you write pleni mezaken and pleni mechayiv, and you do write the details who was mezaken, who was mechayiv, because if not, mishum de mechzik shikra, it looks like a lie. You're writing that everybody was mezake. You just write plain zakah. It's not true. They weren't all mezake. someone was mazak and someone was machayv. So you have to spell out exactly the details of what it is. And the Mefarshim say that Reish Lakish is not concerned about Leiselech Rachel. Leiselech Rachel is if one of the judges himself comes out of the Bezdin later and shares, I'm this person, but over here it's not this judge coming out and sharing this. This is how you write the Psak Din. That's not Leiselech Rachel. But Rabbi Elazar Islay Demar, he's concerned about both of these points, that you shouldn't write down what's private in the discussions of the Bezdin, and also on the other hand, you can't write something which is a lie. So Hilkach Kasvi Hachi. So therefore, what you write is Mi Divrayim is Dakaploini. From amongst their words, this person became Zaki. So it's clear that it's not everybody that said this, but at the same time, you're not giving out information that there was so and so was Mizaka and so was Machayev. Going on to the next part of the Mishnah, it said, Gambro Esadovar, after Bezdin finishes, they interrogated the Eidim, and then afterwards they discussed the matter. Then it says, Haya Machnisan Cholo, they bring them back in. So who are we talking about when it says they bring them back in? Who was sent out that they bring in? Laman, who is this talking about? Ilema Labali Dinin, are we talking about the Bali Dinim, the actual people that are being judged here, that they were sent out? When were they sent out? Hasam Kaimi, they're there all the time. Doesn't say that they send them out. Ella says the Gemara, le'edim. After the Eidim are interrogated, so each one of the Eidim are actually interrogated separately. And then afterwards, the Eidim are sent out. And then afterwards, later on, the Eidim have to be brought back in order for these Eidim to say their testimony again together. Because before, each one of the Eidim were interrogated separately. Now they have to be brought back in order to say their testimony again together, and then Bezdin could discuss it and paskin. Now, why do they have to come back in and say their testimony again together? Says the Gemara Kaman, according to who's this Mishnah here, the like Rab Nosson. It's not like Rab Nosson's opinion. The Tanya we learned in the Braisa, there's two arguments here in the Braisa. The first argument is not directly relevant to our case, and the second case was the Gemara is going to bring, the Braisa is going to bring Rab Nosson. So the Braisa says us this. The first case is witnesses cannot combine to be Eidim unless they both see the same thing together. For example, if witnesses are coming to say that so and so owes $100, it's only if the Eidim say we saw Sunday that so and so borrowed $100, or so and so admitted on Sunday that he owes $100. Rabbi Shua ben Karcha says, even if you have two Eidim and they're not saying on the same that they saw on the same day. One Eid says, on Sunday I saw he admitted in front of me that he owes $100. The other one comes and says on Monday he admitted in front of Eidim that he owes $100. 2 different days, and even they still could be combined as one Eidus. That's one halacha. So this is regarding when you see what you're testifying about. Now another thing, the Tanakama here says that the Eidos in a Bezdin is not accepted. They have to say their testimony together. They have to come to Bezdin at the same time. Rab Nosson says, you can hear the words of one witness today, and then the other witness could come back tomorrow, and you hear the words of the other witness tomorrow. They don't have to come together at all. Okay, so what do you see over here? That Rab Nosson says that the Eidim don't even have to testify together. But according to the Tanakama, the Eidim must testify together. And that's what our Mishnah is saying, that after the Eidim were interrogated separately, now they're brought back into the Bezdin, and each one of them, they have to say together their Eidus. That's the pshat in our Mishnah. But the Gemara goes back to the previous pshat. Says the Gemara, loy, that's not necessarily the pshat in the Mishnah. Loylam lebali dinim. Really, we are when it says here that they are brought back in. These are the bali dinim that was sent out, and they're brought back in. But Rab Nechemi, what it says in our Mishnah is like what it says in the Braisa. Rab Nechemi said, "Tanya Rab Nechemi yoime kachoy menagum shoniki adash b'Yerushalayim." This was the custom of the pure people in Yerushalayim, the Bezdin, that machnisin lebali dinim. They bring in the bali dinim. V'sheim and devreim. They hear their arguments. And then umachnisim es ha'edim, afterwards you bring in the edim, v'shaim and devreim, you hear their testimony, and then umitzi noisin l'chutz, the bali dinim are sent out, v'noisnin medavar, and only then does the Bezdin discuss this matter. And as it says in Mefarshim, the reason for this is we don't want the bali dinim to stand there when the Bezdin discusses this matter, so that if the Baal Din are still standing there, there's a few reasons. First of all, the Bezdin could be seeing one Baal Din that can cause him to be biased to that person, or the Baal Din could listen to the discussions of the Bezdin and it'll give him ideas of what else he can argue. By the discussions of the Bezdin, the Baal Din are sent out. And then Gomer Sadav Machnisnais, and that's what the Mishnah says. After the discussion of the Bezdin, the Baal Din are brought back in. That's the pshat in our Mishnah. But the Eidim, their testimony does not have to be set together. They are interrogated separately, and that's fine. But the Gemara asks, but in another brayse we learned, Vatanya Gomru Sadavar, when they finish discussing the matter, Machnisen es Eidim, or rather when they finish interrogating the Eidim, Machnisen es Eidim. They have to bring back the Eidim to say Eidim together. So here we see that the pshat of the Mishnah is that we're bringing the Eidim back in. Says the Gemara, like Rab Nosson. That brayse is taken not like Rab Nosson's opinion. As we see here, the argument: do the Eidim have to come back and say their Eidos together or not? According to Rab Nosson, they don't have to. According to the Tanakh and the brayse we quoted before, they do have to. Okay, now the Gemara here is going to go back to explaining the two arguments that we brought here in this brayse, both regarding when the Eidim see the Eidos, do they have to both Eidim say that they saw it at the same time, and regarding the testimony, do they have to testify at the same time? So Guf, the Brayse before said, the Tanakama says, you can't combine two Eidim unless they're both testifying that they saw at the same time. Rabbi Shua ben Karcha says, even if one says he saw Sunday, the other one says he saw Monday, they could also be combined. Says the Gemara B'mai Kamiflagi, what's the basis of this argument? Either you could say they're arguing about a pasuk, or they're arguing logically. What if you want to say that it's a logical argument here? So then the argument is as follows: Amana the kamasid high, loy kamasid high. On the money that one is testifying that he admitted to on Sunday, the other one that's testifying that he admitted on Monday, he wasn't there Monday. Maybe it's a different money. Umana the kamasid high, loy kamasid high. The other one said that he admitted on Monday. It's not the same money at all. So then it's not connected at all. So how could you combine these two Eidim? That's one opinion. That's why Tanakama says that it has to be together. The Idach, however, Rabbi Shua ben Karcha says, Amana Balme Tarvaya Kamasadi, even though it's not the same money, this is Sunday and this is Monday, but they're both saying the same amount. They're both saying that he admitted that he owes $100. So the fact that it's Sunday and Monday, it doesn't matter. We can combine these two Eidim. That's one way to understand this argument. Or you could say they're arguing about how you interpret the pasuk. The pasuk says by Eidos, V'hu Eid Oyra Oyada. He's an aid, he saw, and he knows. So now, to explain the drasha from what they're arguing about in this pasuk, we want to give the following introduction. The Tanya and Brayse we learned, what does it mean in the Torah when it uses the singular term of aid? Mimashma shenema, and now there's another pasuk, where the pasuk there says, Lo yakum aid, it said, now the pasuk there actually says, Lo yakum aid echad be'ish. You can't rely on one witness that testifies against a person. So now, if it would not say the word echad, if it would just say eid, any yedei echad, it uses a singular term. Don't I know that that's one? Why does the pasuk add the word echad? Zeh bona av. This is a source that kol makim shenema. I aid. Anytime the Torah when it uses the singular term of aid, arekan shnayim. The singular term of aid really means two. Unless the Torah spells out that it's one, then it's one. But otherwise, it's two. That's what we learn out from here. So now, based on this, the Gemara says, so why does the Torah write for testimony, which are really two Eidim? Why does the Torah use a singular term? The Torah is writing Eidus in a singular term, to tell you that they only can be Eidim unless they could only be Eidim if they saw what they saw together at the same time. So this is the source of Eid that they have to see at the same time. However, the Idach, Rabbi Shua ben Karcha says, no, the pasuk says V'hu Eid. Oyra, oyada. Why is the pasuk spelling out oyra, oyada? That even if one saw one day, one saw on the other day, the same amount of money, they can come in now and testify together about this. We call makim either way. They can be Eidim, even if they don't see at the same time. Now the next argument in the Brayse regarding the actual testimony. The Tanakama says that they must testify together. Rab Nosson says, no, we can listen to the words of one aid today. The next day we listen to the words of another aid. They don't have to be together. Says the Gemara B'mai Kamiflagi, what's the basis of their argument? Either it's a logical argument, or they're arguing based on how we understand the psukim. Either you could say that it's a logical argument. Mar Savar, the Tanakama holds, they must say together because Eid Echad, Ki Asi, L'Shvu Asi. When one aid testifies, his testimony cannot obligate anyone to pay money. When one aid says Eidus, he just obligates, in money matters, he obligates the other person to swear to contradict what he said, not more. And therefore, V'idach Ki Asu, Bahadi Adadi, B'chad Pumika Masadi. So the other one, I'm confused. Sorry, this is really the explanation of Rab Nosson's opinion. So here again, the opinion of the Tanakama is they can't each say Eidos separately because then they're not two Eidim. The power of two Eidim is different than the power of one Eid. One Eid is just the Mechayev a Shvuah. They must say Eidus together, and only then could they be Mechayev money. However, the Idach, Rab Nassan says, when they are testifying together, they're saying Eidus with one mouth, or they're saying Eidus simultaneously. They're not. One speaks and then the other speaks. One speaks first, another, the next one speaks next, and then we combine their words as one Eidus. So too, even though one is coming on one day, the other one is coming a day later, it's not one and one. We combine the words of the Eidus together. They don't have to testify on the same day, at the same time. That's the argument logically. Or I could say they're arguing in the pasuk, because it says in the pasuk, "Im lo yagid," if you don't say Eidus, v'nasa vaynei. So then you have a sin. Now the Kula Almen, now the basis of the explanation of the argument here is that everybody agrees, Kerabanan, everybody holds like the Rabbanan, the Pligi Alei, the Rabbi Shua ben Karcha, that argues in Rabbi Shua ben Karcha and says that when it comes to witnessing, what you saw, you must see together. So if everybody holds like, in the second argument here, they both hold like Rabbi Shua ben Karcha that you must see together, so now the question is whether I apply the same thing by testifying. So therefore, Bahacha, Ba'akushia God the Liriyah Kamiflagi. Do I compare where they testify to the way they saw? Because the pasuk over here says Im lo yagid v'nasa avaynoi, so it says there in the pasuk v'hu eidei ra, saw, and then in the end of the pasuk it says yagid. So the question is, do I compare the yagid to the ra in the beginning of the pasuk? So Mar Savar Makshin and Agad Alariya, I compare their testimony to the way they see. Just like when they see, it has to be together, so to when they testify, it has to be together. Umar Savar, however, Rab Nassan says, Lay Makshina, we don't compare the testimony to the way they see the Eidus, even if they have to see together, but they don't have to testify together. So the Gemara now brings an incident that happened in connection to this machlokes. Rab Shimon ben Eliyakim have a mishtaka dalei that Rab Yosef ben Rab Chanina lemismechei. Rab Shimon ben Eliyakim was working hard to try to get Rab Yosef ben Rab Chanina smicha, and he should get smicha from Rabbi Yechanan. And he was not successful. So it was one day that he was sitting in front of Rabbi Yechanan. Rabbi Yechanan said to his students, Mi ikke the yada halach Rabbi Shua ben Karcha oilai. Does anybody know, do we paskin like Rabbi Shua ben Karcha, that the Edom can testify about something that each one saw on another day or not? Rabbi Shimon ben Eliyakim said, Dein yada, this individual, which is Rabbi Yosef ben Rab Chanina, that he was trying to get him smicha, he knows. He took the advantage here to be able to get him smicha. Amalei, leime ezu, amalei, leime ezu. Tell us, tell me, my friend, or tell me what it is that he said. Amalei. So Rabbi Shimon ben Eliyakim said, Lismechei mar bereisha. He said, first give him smicha, and then I'll tell you. So Yechaptarain to make a condition, because Rabbi Yechanan wanted to have this information. So he said, give him smicha first, and then I'll tell you what Rabbi Yosef Rab Chanina said. So Samchei, so he gave him the smicha. So now Amalei, he said to him, Bini Amarli Ketzat Shamaita, tell me what you heard from Rabbi Yosef Rab Chanina about whether the halacha is like Rabbi Shua ben Karcha. Amalei, so he answered him, Kach Shamaiti, this is what I heard from Rabbi Yosef Rab Chanina. Shemaide Rabbi Shua ben Karcha l'Rab Nassan. Rabbi Shua ben Karcha definitely holds like the opinion of Rab Nassan. Meaning, if Rabbi Shua ben Karcha says that the Eidim can testify about two Eidim, each one saw on a separate day, he definitely agrees to Rab Nassan that when the Eidim are testifying, they don't have to testify at the same time. Right? Because it's a bigger chiddush that you don't have to see at the same time than to say that you don't have to testify at the same time. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha definitely holds like Rab Nassan, and therefore what he was trying to say is, if we know that the halach is like Rab Nassan, we could assume that the halach is like Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. So Omar, so now Rabbi Yechanan said he was upset about this information that he gave him. This is the chiddush information that you told me that Rabbi Yosef ben Rab Chanina had, and you forced me to give him smicha as a condition before you telling me this. This is obvious. This is not a chiddush. Hashta uma ikiri ba'adi adadi. Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha lebina, the actual what they're witnessing. They don't even have to see it at the same time. Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha holds that Hagadim Yibaya. For sure, he would agree that when they come to testify in Bezdin, they don't have to testify at the same time. That's not a chiddush. So this is not the information I was looking for from Rabbi Yosef Rab Chanina. So Amalei. But Rabbi Yechanan then said, since you were elevated to the status that you had smicha, we're not going to demote you anymore. Amar Rab Zera said, Shema Mina, from here we learn, Gavra Rabba, if there's a great person, Kivin the Samach. Once he got Smicha, even though later there's a reason that you would want to demote him, you do not take him away from that position. But the Gemara here is Medayik, it has to be a Gavra Rabba. If it turns out you gave Smicha to someone, and he turns out not to be a Gavra Rabba, then he could be demoted. But in this case, this Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina was a Gavra Rabba. So now here the Gemara is going to bring a discussion about Takahuda Allah is like, whether we pass like Rabbi Shua ben Karcha, and regarding different cases. Amar Rab Chia bar Ravin, Amar Rav, halacha ke Rabbi Shua ben Karcha. We pass like Rabbi Shua ben Karcha, bein bekarkois, bein bemetaltlin. Whether it's an edus regarding the ownership of a piece of land, or it's an edus regarding metaltlin. Now, what's the chiddush here? Why is the Gemara singling out the difference between karkois and metaltlin? Because by metaltlin, the person is made on Sunday that he owes money. The person is made on Monday that he owes money. It's not necessarily the same money. The money of Sunday and the money of the Monday, it's the same amount, but it's not the same money. So that's a big chiddush. You could combine the two edison. Karka. So if person admits on Sunday that this karka belongs to someone, and the person admits on Monday that this karka belongs to someone, it's the same karka. So we know that it's the same karka. There, it's easier to understand that you combine the two testimony, or the two things that they saw, that these two edim saw. So therefore, he's saying both by karkais, which it's easier to combine it, and even by metaltal, and also we always pass like Rabbi Shua ben Karcha. Ulam Ha'olah says, halacha ke Rabbi Shua ben Karcha b'karkais. If you have the two edim and each one heard that someone admitted about the ownership of karka on 2 different days, since it's the same karka, that's when we pass like Rabbi Shua ben Karcha. Not if you make about money or about any metaltalin on Sunday and Monday, that's not necessarily the same money. So you can't combine the two edison. Amalei Abaye, so Abaye said, halacha, you're saying that the halacha is like Rabbi Shua ben Karcha regarding karkais, regarding the case of karkais, Meklal de Pligi. So that means that the Tanakama argues in Rabbi Shua ben Karcha even regarding karkais. But is that the case? If it's two edison that they saw this person admitting regarding karka, there's no argument in the first place. There it's simple that you're being made regarding the same karka. And V'tani Rav Yida bar Ravin ben Nizakin, the Bei Karna, Rav Yida bar Ravin taught by the halachas of Nizakin, by the yeshiva of Karna, also that Moedim Chachamim Rabbi Shua ben Karcha. And here he said a few cases. Number one, be'edus b'chayr, in the case where you have two edim and each one saw an edus regarding a b'chayr. So Rashi explains what we're talking about over here is a b'chayr that gets a mum. In order for the kain to be able to use the b'chayr, if it doesn't have a mum, that has to be brought as a carbon. But if it has a mum, and this has to be a mum that the kain himself did not make this blemish, it's a mum that it got itself, and it has to be a proper mum. So what happens if one aid testifies that he saw one mum, and another aid testifies that he saw a different mum? They didn't see both the same mum. So each one is testifying that it has that mum that now the kain could use it. So in such a case, Rabbi Shua ben Karcha agrees that we could combine these two aids because both edison are telling us the same point, that this b'chayr has a mum. And also be'edus karka, that we just spoke about, in a case of edus karka, the Chacham would agree as well. We're talking about the same karka. What's the difference if he admitted Sunday or Monday? And also be'edus chazakah, when you have two edim, and this is regarding to establish a chazakah that the person is occupying the karka for 3 years. So you have one aid that comes and says that he was here in the karka for 3 years, year 1, 2, and 3. And the other one says that he was in the karka year 4, 5, and 6. We could combine these two edison that he was in the karka. And v'chein, another case that Chachamim agree that you can combine the words of two edim, even though they didn't see exactly the same thing, should be ben or should be bas, regarding a boy or a girl, to establish that they saw the signs, the hairs that grow, that they're already a gadol. So we see over here that it clearly, regarding the case of karka, one of the cases mentioned here, there's no argument about this in the first place. So why are you saying that this halacha is like Rabbi Shua ben Karcha regarding karka? There is no argument. Says the Gemara, Gavra Karamis, you're asking a contradiction here from what other Amiraim said. One person on another person. Mar Savar Pligi. According to Ula, there was an argument about karka. Or Mar Savar Pligi. And according to these Amiraim that we just quoted, there's no argument about this. And now the Gemara explains one of the details that was brought up here. What does it mean that Chachamim would agree to Rabbi Shua ben Karcha that you could have edim that are testifying about the hairs, the signs of a girl or a boy that that he's a gadol or she's a gedayla, that you could combine what the two edim are seeing? What's the case here? If you're going to say the case of here is now, in order to establish that a boy or a girl are already an adult, a gadol or a gedayla, you have to have two hairs. The two hairs that grow in that area that shows that they're already an adult. So now, what's the case here? If you're going to say echad oimer achas begaba, one aid is coming and saying, I saw one hair that's more in one area, more in towards the back. V'echad oimer, and another aid is saying also achas. I saw one hair that grew in that area bekreisa, more towards the front. So then, in such a case, how can you combine these two edim? Hai chatzi davar v'chatzi edusu. This is not two edim that each one saw a full thing, but in a different time. Each one just saw half, because in order to be a gadol, you have to have two hairs, and each one just saw one hair, so you don't even have a full edus here. Hello, rather, so the case over here is echadoy mishtayim begaba. One says that I saw two hairs in the back. Vechadoy mishtayim bekreisa. The other one says that they saw two hairs in the front. So over here, each one is seeing a full edus, but they didn't see the same hairs. And here, everybody agrees that you could bind this to be edus that this child is an adult. There's a gedayla already, or gadol. Rav Yosef said, I said in the name of Ula differently than what was quoted before, the opposite. That Allah Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, we passing like Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, bein bekarkais, bein b'metaltlim. When Eidim are testifying and each one saw in a different time, whether it's regarding karka, whether it's regarding metaltlim, we always passing like Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. The Rabbana that came from Mechuzah, they said, Amar Rab Zeir b'shmei de Rav, that Rab Zeir said in the name of Rav, bekarkais in regarding karka. If Eidim say that they saw different times a person being made regarding karka, we paskin like Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. Avalei metaltlin. Regarding metaltlin, we do not paskin like Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, because by metaltlin, if they're made on different days, how do you know that they're being made about the same money? Now the Gemara explains Rav the time. What Rav said here follows what Rav said elsewhere. Dama Rav said as follows. This whole concept that Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha said that Eidim are testifying, one saw on Sunday, one saw on Monday. You really have to know that they're testifying about the same money, and it really will depend what they're testifying about. Hayda achar hayda. If the person admitted on Sunday that he owes money, and then on Monday he comes and admits he owes money, or hayda achar halva. If 1/8 comes and says that I saw that he borrowed money on Sunday, and then on Monday he admitted that he borrowed the money, then mitzdarfi. Then I could combine this, because in such a case I could say that the two Eidim, even though they saw in a different time, but nevertheless they're talking about the same money. Halva, halva. However, if 1/8 says, I saw he borrowed $100 on Sunday, another 8 comes and says, I saw that he borrowed $100 on Monday, it's different money. Even though we know now that he owes $100, but it's not the same loan. Or halva achahida. On Sunday he admitted that he already owes from before $100, and then on Monday he comes and he borrows money. So then loy mitzdarfi. Then you can't combine this because it's different monies. So here you see that Rav says that we only paskin like Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha in a case where we could say that the two things that these Eidim saw is the same money. And therefore we say that by karka. By karka, it's the same karka. Only then can we combine it. Ashkechei Rav Nachman by Yitzchak le Rav Hona berei de Rav Yeshua. Rav Nachman Yitzchak, he found in Rav Hona berei de Rav Yeshua, and Amalei he asked him that all these examples that Rav just said, it's not clearly understood. Why are we saying that we could know that it's the same money? If one aid is saying that I saw he borrowed money on Sunday and the other one says he borrowed money on Monday, so I can't combine that because I say the money the kachazi high, like a chazi high. The loan of Sunday is not the loan of Monday; it's different money. So if so, nami, if he admits to money that he owes on Sunday and then admits to money that he owes on Monday, so nami, maybe that's also the case. Who says he's admitting about the same loan? How can you say that it's the same loan and therefore it's like karka that you could combine them? So the Gemara answers, it's in a case where it's clear that it is about the same loan. Because when the person admitted to the second aid, he told him, I'm being minded to you today regarding the same money that I was already minded to the other person yesterday. So he's making it clear that it's the same money. So the second aid now knows that it's that same money. But the Gemara asks, the second aid knows that. But Akati Basre Yoda, the second aid knows that. Kama lo Yoda. The first aid does not know that. When he's made it to the first aid, he just knows about this money, but he doesn't know that the money that he's being made to tomorrow is the same money as what he's being made to today. So the Gemara says, no, the Hadar Azal Amalei Kama. Then he goes back, the person that was made on Monday goes back to the aid that he was made to on Sunday, and he tells him, Hi, money the oidi le kamach, oidi le nami kami plani. The money that I was made to do you on Sunday, on Monday, I was made in front of someone else. So these two Eidim know of each other. The person that was made gave the information to both Eidim that he was made to the same money, and therefore we could combine it. Amalei. So he told him, who's Rav Huna B'Reder Rav Yeshua, told Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak that told Rav Huna B'Reder Rav Yeshua, Tonuach daitcha, you should be happy, that you made me happy, you clarified this matter, that it's only in this case that it's clear that these two Eidim know that it's the same money, then they could testify together. But then he asked him, you're happy with the answer that I gave you, but now I'll refute the answer that I gave you. Why are you so happy with the answer that I gave you? Rava or Rav Sheshes, they threw an axe at this, meaning they cut off this answer. There's a problem with this answer. Why? Because if so, are we not going to have to say the exact same thing regarding the other case that Rav spoke about when he first admitted to a loan? He first borrowed money, that is, in front of an aid, and then the next day he admitted to a loan. Isn't it the same thing over here? That if I'm combining the two together, it's only when the person that admitted told each one of the aidim that I admitted to you what I borrowed, and when the aid that borrowed, he tells him that I admitted to the other one afterwards. So if so, it's the same case. Why is Rav saying two different cases here? So he says to him, first you give me an answer, then you refute your answer. This is what I heard about you, that the remisu dikli, that you cut off a tree, v'zakfisu, and then you immediately plant it again. So same thing over here. You're giving me an answer, then you're refuting your answer. Make up your mind. The Gemara brings the conclusion of this halacha. Nerdoi said as follows. This is all regarding the halacha of Rabbi Shua ben Karcha. When Eidim, one sees one time, one sees another time. So he said, Beinai da acha hida. One they saw admitted on Sunday, and one admitted on Monday. Ben da achar alva, or one saw that he borrowed some money on Sunday and then on Monday he admitted. Ben halva achar alva, or he borrowed money on Sunday and then the other saw he borrowed money on Monday. Ben halva achar eda, or whether it's first admitting on Sunday and then borrowing on Monday. In any of these cases, when one aid saw one and another aid saw the other, mitzdarfais, we will always combine them together. Kaman, according to who? Rabbi Shua ben Karcha. We paskin in all these cases like Rabbi Shua ben Karcha.